I've been playing with this generator. I got a breaker box for it, and I went to the hardware store. They had this off-cut sitting there, so I thought I'd get a really good deal on it. They charged me $5 a foot. $25 for an off-cut. Unbelievable. I'm not happy at all about that. And I had to beg for a discount on that. They had it sitting on the shelf wrapped up with no part numbers on it. Just a spare piece that came off an end of a coil that they could have easily just thrown away, and they thought, oh, it's 5 feet, we'll keep it, somebody might want it. Yeah, it's only 5 feet. It's worthless. $25. Anyways, I've been playing with this thing, and it appears to work on the 240 volt side of things, so I needed a plug. And I've checked pretty much every wire in here. It's got a dead short between this black and this yellow, and it should not. But the 240 volt side of things works, so I wonder if the short is in this switch, because this switch, it will change the voltages, which means that it will connect this side or connect this side depending on which way it is. And the yellow and black are side by side here, so if it's shorted out inside, it's gonna just, well, cause the problem that happens. It blows the breaker instantly. When I've got it on the 240 volt side, I checked power. I have 240 volts and I have 120 out of the plug. So with the addition of this and this breaker box, I can get that to split into usable 120 power. Or I can plug a dual pole breaker. So see how this comes apart? I can plug a dual pole breaker into this, which I have as well, and that will give me 220 power out and power my air compressor. So anyways, that's what's been going on lately. I will come back when I've got a better update on what's going on. Also, the weirdest thing happened. This is the clip that I use for my GoPro, right? It's awesome. I love it. It's magnetic, or it used to be. Yesterday, I went to stick it to something and it fell. Has anyone ever seen a magnet that quit working? I don't get it. Sometime later, I got a junction box splitter built. So this will take 240 power in. And in here, I've only got one breaker in here, but with the use of two breakers, I've got 120 on each side of this. So between red and white is 120 volts, and between black and white is 120 volts. Between red and black is 240. So if I wanted to use something, if I wanted to use 240, I would have to take both wires out of here and wire something completely differently. This is only wired for 110. This is just so I can test this generator, and the way this is set up, I can actually plug this cord into my other generator as well. 240 power is a lot more efficient, so you can make a 3500 watt generator like my little Stanley, or whatever brand it is. You can make a little 3000 watt generator a lot more efficient by powering two legs of stuff instead of taking 120 directly from it. Anyways, is how I understand it. So we're going to give this a try and see if I've got power. This is just to test this generator to see if it works for now. If anybody doesn't like what I'm doing, make sure you write it down in the comments. Anyways, I'm going to try it. Batteries are hooked up. Everything should be hooked up and ready to go. Got to reach in here for the throttle. I can just click it on, but then it starts right up at full throttle. So. Oh yeah, she'll go. Cool. Awesome. That is a raging success. I can run power in here now. So the way I've got this wired, I can pretty much run power everywhere. It's going to be more than strong enough to do what I want with it. Anyways, if I want to run my air compressor up here, all I've got to do is change the wiring in there just a little bit. So I think what I want to do is maybe haul the air compressor up here and try it out. It is a little bit foggy from the smoke. I really got to get ventilation going. There and go get the compressor. Okay, if it's stuck, it's not going to be good. I don't know how stuck I'm going to tolerate before I give up. That's how it's not stuck. Just the ice drips right off my roof right here, so it's prone to getting icy. Whatever. It's broken, but it all came loose. Spun it around so the controls are on this side. So I'm just going to put it on the back wall for now. I won't be here forever. I want it outside. And I probably want it in that corner, but for now it'll do. Again, Captain Temporary over here. I'm just going to wire this directly into my fuse box to test it. Make sure this can run it easily. If it can, I think it will. If it can, I want to put this outside at least, because this, with the exhaust and the noise, is brutal. But if we're going to do that, we're going to service it quickly. I've been holding off showing you guys anything inside this because I'm not an electrician, so I don't want you copying me. So do you understand? Don't copy me. But also, this is what I'm doing. So I had the black wire into this breaker here. Gimme. The black wire is hot. And then this breaker here, I just had floating in here. I'm going to replace it with this. So what this does is it takes the power through and puts it through all in one switch. It's good for 30 amps. The difference being, with this installed, I can run my black wire to here, but I can also run the wires from the air compressor off of this one and this one. So that's going to give me 240 volts, if that makes sense to you. I don't really know how to explain it further. Up at the top, the red and the black, alternating current, those create 240 volts together. So because they're coming out, I'm going to put one end of the breaker, sorry, I'm going to put one end of the compressor here, I'm going to put one end of the compressor here. That feeds it 240 volts. Because this outlet here only has from this prong to this is the neutral bar. This gives us 120 volts. This gives us 240 volts. And everything ties in to the grounding terminal. because that's how things are done. This is actually hooked up correct, but again, I am not an electrician. Do not copy me. Do not do what I do, and blame me for your own mistakes. If I burn this down, it's my own fault. What's going to happen? I lose one tarp. Good luck burning the rest down. Knock on wood. Jeez, Mike, don't say stuff like that. Anyways.
Don't worry, be happy.
Here, that gives us 220 for my compressor, and that gives us 110 for my outlet. Now I just have the outlet here for gits and chiggles. There's no real particular reason. 240 and 110 can run completely separate circuits. This one just so happens to have 4 inputs, so we get our 220 and our 110 circuit. It's just 2 circuits in one is all it is. It seems more complicated than that, but it's not. But again, only a YouTube electrician. Don't do what I do. I did this so that the panel's isolated, so that anyone on YouTube can't tell me that I don't give a crap about safety. Everything's isolated here. It's bolted to a block of wood. It's separate from the dingus and the dingus, and all the grounds are hooked up correctly, so everything in theory should just be a nice portable standalone safe unit. I'm not worried about it. Let's start this up, let it warm up for a second, and try this out. Okay, step 1, we're going to do the same and just let this warm up nice and slow. Your battery died, I had to plug you in there. Look, I shut this off so I could plug you guys in and make sure you don't die again. All the dedication I put into this. System on. That should be on. Back off. That's more than likely it. Okay, contact. I'm not proud. The black and the white are reversed here. So I still have 120 going through my system. Normally I just don't have the 240 going through the system, so I need to switch the black and the white. Okay folks, round 3, I guess. That circuit's on. This circuit should be on. This circuit's off. I'm going to start it up. It'll rev up. And then I will turn the breaker on and we'll see if that actually pumps now. Way better. That's proper. I think I'm going to find that surging issue to be bad fuel. This is sat at my place for 3.5 years, and I don't know how long it sat before that. The guy told us that the 120 side of the circuit was not working. I confirmed that. There's a dead short somewhere. I don't know if that's in the generator, and I don't know if that's in the wiring. I didn't investigate any farther. All I did on the back side of things was disconnect the 120 circuit, and it's simply on this switch right here. So if I run it on the 240 volt side, things keep working, and obviously it's going to power this guy. That's really beneficial to have in the shop. I'm very excited for this. This also gives me a mobile power unit. I can roll this around, and I've got a couple of 120 plugs on there, which are going to be for whatever amp this is. 50? It doesn't say on it. I don't care. Anyways, I've got a really good, strong setup now. Obviously, it'll run this no problem. So that again, yeah, that gives me 240 volts here and 110 there. That's really cool. That's exactly how your house is wired, if you were also curious. One phase comes in one side, one phase comes in the other side, and then your white neutral wire is what pairs up and makes 120. So half of your house is usually run off one leg of 240, and the other half is run off the other leg of 240. Now, for you in Europe and New Zealand and the rest of you guys that aren't Canadian or American directly, I have no clue how your power runs. I know you guys are mostly on 240 volts or 230 volts. 50 hertz, I think. We are 60 hertz and 240, 120 split. I know I have a lot of international watchers, so to you guys, that's just how we do stuff here in Canada and the US. I believe we use a lot more 240 stuff in Canada even than the US does. Don't quote me on that, but anyways, I'm really happy this works. I guess I'll dump some fresh fuel in this thing. I need to plumb the line outside so that it doesn't gas me out in here, because it's obnoxious. Look how hazy it is on the lights. So I need to get this plumbed outside because I don't want to forever be breathing in diesel. I can only smell it a little bit. Surprisingly, it stays up top. But we'll give this thing a good service. I'll check the air cleaner. Maybe I'll do that right away, because that could absolutely be the running issue. Pretty hard to see through that. That's why I wanted to get the compressor inside. But are you kidding me? Got the balance in the hole. It's just frozen right in the handle. That won't take long to thaw right there. It's hot. Frozen again, really? That's really cool to be able to do in here. I can hope that was the issue. I'm not going to start this back up. It's getting dark out. Food's almost ready inside the house. This is cool. We're slowly getting the shop set up. The compressor and the generator are in the corner over there. They're going to come over here and live outside, I think I've decided. But for now, I think I'm just going to move them to right here and then plumb the stuff outside. Just so it can be loud in the corner, not right beside my toolboxes and stuff. I don't know, getting tools with a loud air compressor is a little bit annoying. So we'll just put it all right over here for now, and that'll be Captain Temporary. That'll be me. Putting stuff where it doesn't belong for a temporary amount of time. But this should still all work. Just need to find myself a balancer. If you guys haven't seen it before, go check out my changing tires with an excavator video. I had this thing out working in the cold and I swapped tires. I think I swapped tires onto that thing, so. Oh, That's annoying. But a bit of a convenient breakdown, if I do say so myself. I'm going to call that an off-grid tire setup, off-grid tire machine. Cool. And if you're wondering what these two pieces of wood on the ground are for, this is where I've got my hoist envisioned. So kind of close to the power output and the tire machine and stuff. Again, the compressor and the generator are going to live outside eventually, permanently. The tire machine and probably a balancer will be inside here permanently. So I'm just practicing and essentially going to call this my tire changing area for now. And if I like it, I'll keep it up. It is freaking windy, guys. This tarp's starting to suffer. I'm going to put a door in here, a garage door, so it doesn't break my heart about that tarp, but I would prefer it not to get ripped up anymore. Something like 40 mile an hour or 50 mile an hour winds all day today, and then it's gusting up to like 80 miles an hour. Well over 100 kilometer an hour winds here today. It's pretty ridiculous. 50 kilometer an hour steady winds is what they were saying. Yeah, it's not good for a tarp building. Well, I'm trying to do some redneckery here. I've got the exhaust plumbed through a tube. And I've just got it outside the shop here for now, just to see if this works. One thing I know for sure, there's a hole in the hose. I think it's right here. So I'm gonna have to plug that, but we'll see if this actually puts the exhaust outside. And if it does, I can run it in here pretty safely. So nothing's changed since yesterday. We're just gonna turn that off so that it doesn't send power to the generator. There's no reason for that. But I'm just trial and error here. So when I start this up, it's just gonna rev itself right out. Otherwise I gotta mess with the throttle and everything every time. These generators start up and they go to max throttle, and that's just how they are. I didn't have the throttle on. That's just that red dial right there. Just push forward. Anyways. So I can tell right now it's got a lot coming in from here and there. Yeah, look at that. That's funny. So I'm gonna have to get that farther in the hose apparently. This is the ultimate amount of redneck right now, so. Proof of concept, it's working, so I just need to seal up the holes and put better diesel in it, I guess. It's actually surprisingly not that loud in here with the exhaust plugged outside. Cool, so proof of concept, it's gonna work, but the hose is not the greatest, so I don't know if I'm just gonna bother taping it or what. We're making progress. I'll plumb, no, I won't plumb this outside forever. Like I said, it's gonna be living outside. It's cold for now, but I'm sure it gets hot quick. Green painter's tape. How much do you want to bet that won't last long? At most, it's going to be like this for a couple of weeks. The weather's supposed to get warm, and then the snow's going to go away, and I can get this outside permanently. That's cool, it's warm. That didn't last long. Yeehaw, that's warm. Well, that didn't last very freaking long. Now I need hard pipe to go outside apparently, because that's not going to last long. Best way to change the oil on your generator, pick it up in the air. This is all just working towards an off-grid tire machine. And obviously power, but the off-grid tire machine idea is cool. This thing's kind of cool. It's got a catch can inside built in, so you can pull the drain plug. And the oil actually just drains right out. It should anyways. Here it comes. I haven't run this today and it was like -20 last night, so it might take a while to drain. I'll come back in a bit. I was actually lucky enough to pick up a new panel here too. I'm gonna wire in. It was obviously a grow up, the way they got it set up, with 220s and 120 plugs, but that's sort of kind of useful to me and sort of kind of not. This wire is pretty small, so we're gonna end up having to redo pretty much everything you see inside there. Yeah, even the 120 stuff is pretty small wire, but that's okay because everything you see here, and I got this nice big tech cable wire, and I got a blower fan as well. It's sitting over there right now. Yeah, right there. But I paid $100 for all of it, so sorry, $150 for all of it. So that's not too bad because this panel's worth at least $100 all day long. Anyways, I'm just working on running some wire to it, and then I'm gonna stick this generator outside with the big long tech cable instead of trying to run it inside. I think I got video of melting the tube that I had going outside anyways. It didn't work out very long, but it does run the compressor, so my goal here is to get the tire machine and compressor and everything set up sort of off grid because I don't have grid power out at the shop. And this will be my distribution center because I want to run power to that fan. I'm going to put the fan up either in the peak there or in the peak over here so that it can suck the exhaust out. That's why I've got the door open. The forklift is smoky. Anyways, I'd like to run power to that, and it would just simply be easier to run it all into this. I'm going to add a second input to this so that I can plug an extension cord into it. Mind you, you're supposed to have a disconnect switch in between a generator and grid power. I'm going to know just to unplug it before I start the generator. Anyways, that's on me, not anyone else. Don't do what I do. This is a what I do channel, not a copy me channel. Definitely not a how-to channel, unless I specifically say in the video how to. Don't copy me. A couple hours later and I got everything wired in, so we've got power coming in through the tech cable, going up through the bottom of the box, in through all the wires, so everything's hooked up as 220, and then this guy that powered my compressors hooked up exactly the same. I've got it running in here and off this 30 amp breaker, so we got a 30 amp breaker out into a 30 amp breaker. Redundancy. Sorry, the battery died. Anyways, so I've got double redundancy just as extra safety features. Just no really reason for that, just that's how the wires worked out. Otherwise, I don't have a plug or a way to hook the generator up to it. So this is all screwed to the wall. And for any electricians watching this, I do plan to buy a ground rod and tie it into the system. I'm going to do that as soon as my ground is permeable. It's frozen rock solid right now, and there's no hope of pounding a copper rod into the ground. So it's running through a generator. Everything's grounded through the generator. Everything's grounded through this, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Anyways, it's all wired, and I've got, I don't know if you can see it over there, but I've got the plug end on the end of my tech cable, so I'm just going to shove that through the wall. We have a couple more minutes of work to do on this guy. The oil is finally quit dripping, so I will dump some, I guess I'll just dump 1540 in it because it's a generator and that's probably what it calls for. Unless I can find some 1030 around. I'm going to change the oil in that quick because it's now empty. I'll fill it up with fresh stuff. We already did the air cleaner. Put it outside, plug it in, start it up, and we'll test it out. Also, because of the the surging issue, that jerry can is full of, I think it's good diesel in that jerry can. So if it's not, I'll update you in a little bit when the oil's changed and this is all outside. It's still pretty cold in here, guys, so I'm gonna roll this out, let it sit in the sun for a while, because I just put fresh 1540 in it. That's all I had. And really, that'll be good for the summer with how much I'm gonna use it, so. I didn't want to put thin oil in it, plus, what's the point, right? So the sun's right there. It'll start hitting this in a few minutes. Got the wire all wired in to the plug, so this can just go outside and get plugged straight in. Look at that, perfecto. So this, I've got everything really tight. And I didn't double check to make sure it was wired 100% correctly, but the only thing I could have done is mix up the red and the black. But I'm 99% sure I didn't do that because I gave myself a little trick when I pulled it apart. I looked at the old plug, which I knew was wired correctly because I had this panel off when I did so. When I had the ground on top, red was on the right. So, anyways, that's how I put it back together. It should be correct. I will come out here in a little bit and give this a start up. I'll bring you guys so you can see. First start since it was minus 25 or minus 23 last night. It was very cold. With 1540 in this old girl, it's brand new and fresh, but look how thick it is. So, it's supposed to get up into the plus degrees this afternoon. It's supposed to be above freezing finally. After weeks and weeks of cold again. It warms up and then it cools down, and then it warms up and then it cools down, and then it, you know, you get it. Anyways, it's warming back up. It's supposed to be really, really windy this afternoon. That's why I've got the fire going now, just to get it over with. Hopefully it all burns up by the time I'm done. Hopefully it burns up by the time the wind comes in, is what I meant. So you can see it burning over there. It's doing its thing. It's not supposed to get super windy until about 4 this afternoon, and then it's supposed to be really windy tomorrow. I don't foresee that taking more than an hour or so to burn once it gets going, and it is going now. No concerns. So from the wall over there where I've got the cord coming in, it comes behind the compressor and straight up into the panel. This coiled up doodad is only for the tire machine. So when it's not there, this is actually all really tidy and nice. So these plugs are going to get replaced by proper 220 high amperage plugs, probably just the welder style plugs so I can plug my welder into it. That is also going to require a rewire. I have wire for that, so that's not a big deal. These 120 plugs on top are going to need to be rewired as well. They have really tiny wire going into them. So that's not good for me because I run power tools for the most part. I kind of like the idea of having a plug here, but I've got this one wired in on a heavier gauge wire, so it might stay where it is, and these two might get relocated elsewhere in the building. So on this side of the building, what I would really like to do is put a second level in, whether it be for tool storage up top, whether it be for snowmobile and ATV storage. I have the forklift here, so lifting stuff up top is very easy for me. Anyways, that's one thing I'd really like to do, but before I do that, I'm certain that I'm gonna have to get concrete down in the floor, but I feel like 8 feet from the floor is a good height for the bottom of the rafters or floor joists, I guess they're gonna be called, or I guess they're called. So I'm thinking I'm gonna figure out a good height for my floor. I wanna do probably 6 inches of concrete. I know the floor is not currently perfectly level, so I think before I start permanently running wire, I'll go get my laser level and set it up. Yeah, I think what I'm thinking is run wire about 8 foot up, and then I don't have to go all the way up top with everything, and saves me a whole bunch of wiring nightmares. The whole purpose of this project has been to get an off-grid tire machine set up. So we've got the wiring all set up for the air compressor to run off the generator outside, and the wiring set up to run the table. The 120 power is the rotating table on it. The rest is powered by air. So with the way it's set up, I have an off-grid tire machine. One day I would love to add a balancer to it. I actually have an old snap-on balancer that needs parts. Be rest assured that you will see it probably at least getting torn apart. I don't know if I can buy parts for it. There's a couple of doodads on the back. I don't know what they're called. I don't know what they do, but they're broken, and I was told they need to be replaced. It's also missing all the cones and adapters to hook up tires to it. So yeah, talking about it's kind of pointless until I know if I can get parts for it, but hopefully I can. If I can, again, you'll see it. Regardless whether I can get parts or not, it'll be either very disappointing for us all, or it'll be very exciting for us all. Off-grid tire machine, my next step. I've got a bunch of tires that I'd like to get down here. I'd love to use this trailer and my side-by-side here. But my side-by-side was making a horrible noise yesterday when I started it up. It sounds like bottom end. So I think what I've got to do is change the oil at least. Then I can have a look at the oil that comes out. Anyways, I'm not even going to start it up. I literally just want to change the oil where it sits, because it wasn't good. The noise started slowly to go away when it warmed up, but what happened was I started it up yesterday to come help me with the fire, and when I came back into the shop after letting it warm up for what I thought to be 10 or 15 minutes, I came back and it was shut off. The key was on, it was just sitting here not idling anymore. So I started it back up and instantly I noticed the rattle from the engine. I don't know if the rattle shut it off. I don't know if it was just because it was cold and it wasn't happy. I don't know. I walked away. So yeah, anyways, I'll get some tires in here and we will try out this tire machine. I'm excited. Welcome back, folks. It's around noon now. It's starting to warm up. The sun's been through the trees just a little bit. The thing's not minus 25 anymore. So what we're gonna try to do, I guess I should probably strap that harder, but what we're going to do first is start it up on low idle mode, and to do that, I click the machine off inside. I click the machine off and then there's just a little red lever here. This is actually your throttle, and when you click it forward, it's set at 3600 RPM. That allows this machine to produce 60 Hertz at 120 volts and 240 volts. We'll knock it down, we'll give it just a little bit of throttle with our hands, and see if she goes. That's the starter. This is the first start after the oil change. The reason I do that, it's a splash lubrication oil system, which means there's a little dingus on the end of the crankshaft that rotates into the oil and splashes it around the engine. So by allowing it some time at low RPM, just allows the oil that's already thick some more time to lubricate and spin around and splash around. And just because it's an older unit and it's Chinese, we can't trust its quality. It's surging right now, I believe, because of a fuel issue. I'm gonna dump some fresh fuel in it and hope that fixes the problem. I've never put fuel in this, so this is old 4, 5, 6-year-old diesel. These generators don't like that. This is warming it up regardless. Let's get some diesel in it. Fresh fuel really helps. So as you saw outside, I flicked the breaker on. We have 240 volts running into this panel right now through this wire. If everything is hooked up correctly, I should flick this breaker and then this breaker, and this should come on. Contact. Everything's still good. Contact. That tells me everything's wired correctly. That sounds like it's running on 240 volts. supposed to kick off around 140. I don't know exactly why it's not. But I know it's to do with all of this in here being messed with. Yeah, there it goes. See? Cool. Figure it's only appropriate to use air tools on an air tool day. So I got my dad's old 1/2-inch snap-on. I haven't used this in probably 6 years. I've never even pulled the trigger on it in that long. Oh, is there ice in there or something? We have an ice problem. Huh. If it's not something, it's everything else. Okay, sometime later. I can feel like ice and I can see ice coming out of it. What in the hell? I've never had that. And see it spitting ice out. Like, look at the crap coming out of it. This was going to be a one quick, easy, here, let's run the air compressor, or use the air compressor for what it is. Now I'm stuck here. Oh yeah. That's what happens when you leave your stuff outside for too long, it gets moisture in it. I'll assure you, I never meant to keep compressors and stuff outside, we just didn't have a shop, so. Okay, now you can see it's dry, at least playing with it, so I should be alright. Let's try this again. It's got some ice in it too, but we'll see if it'll do it. Even full of ice, the snap-on still powers through. Yeah, whoever put this together the first time, i.e. me, did it wrong. So obviously the ball end goes up on these, not down. There. That should do it. Oh, it's a little too tall for the trailer. 8.0 lithium, much better battery. Okay, you see hear the difference? That's how I remember my Milwaukee. And that, my friends, is why we don't care about this wheel and why we're doing what we're doing. We're hoping this tire is good. So I don't actually know, folks, what bolt pattern these are for, if this fits this style of Chevy or if it fits the later style ones. So in 2011 they changed the bolt pattern to a bigger spacing, 180 millimeters across as opposed to 165. So again, I don't really care what these are. One of the wheels is pooched anyways. I'm gonna pull all 4 of these tires off the rims, inspect this one first and foremost to make sure it's good. But then I've got 4 nice brand new tires to go onto my white Chevy, or my white GMC. Yeah. For any of you that haven't seen this machine yet in my past videos, I used it once for sure. I used it to change the tires on that plow truck actually, with the assistance of my excavators. So anyways, that was a well-viewed video. If you want to go check it out if you're new to the channel. We're going to plug the air in and see what doesn't work and what works. I noticed there's some damage to my valves on top. There's some air cylinders that lock these in place. So plumb the air into it. This should lean back sort of uncontrollably. There's nothing in the way for it to hit. And yeah. So that always did leak. Tower works. I hear a new leak inside. And then the way this works is you push this down into the tire bead, twist the lock, and it holds it in place. I was concerned with all the damage to the top of it that it wouldn't work, but clearly my concerns are alleviated. So this is a pretty cool tire machine. The rim clamp, if everything works, yeah, the rim clamp works. I believe this machine's from the 70s. 2 ways to do it. You can set the tire on there and release it, and it will pinch it and hold it in place, and that's what I'm hoping to do with all of these, if this is indeed big enough. And then on the side here, I've got the bead breaker. So hopefully you can see me there. This hooks onto the valve stem and works. It won't be needed today, but this big horse-sized hose, if you step on the pedal full weight, it shoots a nice big blast of air, and that's a bead blaster. Originally it threads onto this ring with an adapter that I'm clearly missing, but originally it threads onto this ring, and that's the bead blaster for smaller tires. When you get up to the bigger stuff, you see that that's not going to do much for blasting the bead. So anyone in for shots? I brought a cup of water with soap, about 50-50 mix. And yeah, this is the tire we're starting with. So step 1 is to pull the valve stem out. So for that you need a special wrench or screwdriver sort of thing. Now most of the time they have air in them and they'll pop right out. So I was also wondering if it had TPMS, tire pressure monitoring system. A good indication that it does not is these copper colored valve stems. If they were aluminum, there's likely, I am hitting something, maybe there is TPMS in there. The reason that you want to use aluminum is it doesn't corrode as easily, apparently. So anyways, that's out. We're gonna put it in the tire squisher now. So the tire squisher is activated by one of the foot pedals. So as you see, this side is already off right there. However, it's not off right here. So we can press our loosener. We can press our loosener. More ice stuck underneath it. Beautiful. Now the face. Now if it does have a TPMS system, you want to break the bead at the opposite corner. Otherwise you stab this right into it. Nice air leak there. So now we have to keep an eye on our air compressor too, because if it gets too low of PSI, this won't work as well. It's sitting at 85 right now, so we might have to start that up. Then it gets loud in here and you can't hear me. So now the valve stem's right there, so we're gonna go quite a ways past it. Come on, baby. Okay, now we can lift it up top here. So it does have a monitor in it, so I'm glad I was careful. So if you look down in here, see this guy? So you'll knock this right off if you're not careful with that. Now I have to be careful about removing the tire from the rim now in the same manner. My tire iron's missing, I'll be right back. Used to drive my dad crazy, but these hose clamp pliers are the best for removing weights. Anyways, I couldn't find the tire bar I was looking for. I found the smaller one. Another thing, I need a catch can for all the weights because that becomes an issue quick. So what I know is that when the pedal is down, the bar rotates in such a fashion that the tire comes off, so it'll go this way. So we want to set that up pretty far from the valve stem. So now this is going to come forward with this pedal. That's going to all lock into place with the lock, and then down at the bottom here I'm going to be able to stomp on the pedal, and that will give me the rotation. First things first, we're going to take a little bit of our lube and just sparingly dump it in here. Got 3 more tires to do, and it doesn't really take a lot. Normally you use a wet mouse, and mine is stuck in the holder. So anyways, I'm going to start the generator up, and this is all going to go fairly quickly. I won't have time to stop and explain, so there's the breakdown ahead of time. So sit back and enjoy. I mentioned earlier, but the first step is to clamp the rim. Tire number 1, grand success. There's a little bit of pitting, however, on the inside of the bead and on the sealing surface itself. So we could get lucky and it could seal no problem. We could take some preventative measures and apply some silicone, some right stuff. Or we can just simply take this to the tire shop and have him swap my tires for me to save me from messing around with all of it. So I've got options here. One thing I would like to know is if this tire holds air. So maybe for the sake of messing around, I'll put the tire on another wheel, and then I can air it up and actually see for a fact that it's going to hold air. Those are my options. I'd love to tell you. Let me know in the comments what you want me to do, but by the time you see this, it will have been done. That was also inside the tire. Plenty more water. So I'm glad it's warmer out today because that would have been a giant pain in my neck trying to retrieve it. As for getting the water out, I don't really have a trick other than to throw them on the ground. So I'm gonna get those 3 changed. I'll start the compressor and the generator back up, and I'll just throw you guys on a time lapse because those 3 aren't really interesting. I know they hold air. This was my only questionable tire, so. It's leaking out to be pretty good, but there's no pressure in it, so hopefully some pressure will let it sit. There is a gauge, but it's so rusty it's stuck. That's 40 pounds, so I'm going to put 60 in it, that's where it's going to run. There's about 60 pounds, I'll let that sit for a minute. What do you guys think? I think that tire's fine. I think the rattle might just be because it's wiggly. That's an off-grid tire machine. So I'm able to do any tires I want with this machine, mainly for ATVs and side-by-sides, was the reason I bought this machine back in the day. I'm very happy to have it in this shop, and I'm very happy to have it working. Our little diesel generator friend outside is doing a very good job. And of course, now that I've got the ice out of the air compressor, that's working flawlessly with the tire machine as normal. Just out of curiosity, have a look, see how much fuel I burned. Oh, none. It only ran for maybe half an hour total, so I didn't expect to see a whole big drop, but I filled it up to the very tip and top of that. It's just ever so barely down. That's cool. I'm going to be curious to learn how much this burns in the long run if I have it running all day. I'm sure it'll run all day, but I don't know how big the tank is. I put a 20-liter jug in it. Didn't quite use the whole jug, but it's full. I don't know how much was in it either. It could be 10 liters, it could be 15 liters, it could be 30 or 40. I don't know. We'll see how long it lasts, and when it runs out of fuel, we'll see how... I'm going to try not to run out of fuel, but I know me. Anyways, we'll see how much it uses. Kind of cool. It appears we have a power out. Awfully dark in here. That'll do it. Yeah. That's a tree on the power line. Ripped all the way down. Low clearance. Not good, folks. Mud season's here, geez. Yeah, I don't know how long that's gonna take, but it's a really good thing I got my generator going, isn't it? You can just barely hear them in the background working on putting that power pole back up. I've got insider information that tells me it's going to be a couple of hours, so let's start this up. It's warm today, it should start easier. Beauty. The melt is on, folks. See my driveway again. The wind today is brutal. It's blown my tarp off the wall here a little bit. Just up the ladder, gonna fix it. So that lumber tarp up there was flapping in the wind and it had come inside, so I took the staple gun up top and fixed it. It is way too windy outside, folks. Not great. We're just gonna borrow this. That's where power tools are nice. They always work when the power's out. Okay, just remember this. From the back of the plug, with the ground on top, red is on right. And we have a plug. We got red on the right. Okay, make sure your main is powered off if you're doing this. Now none of these are labeled, so I don't know what powers what. Turn the sub panel off maybe, or leave it all on. I don't know, let's try it. Okay, we're going for all or nothing here. It's either gonna work or it doesn't. It's doing it, holy crap. Furnace is on. Well, it's powering my house. I guess I'll just leave it. Cool. That thing worked very well. The power's back on. We're gonna go turn it on inside. First things first, everything gets unplugged because this is what they call a dead man cord. It's not safe. Let there be light. Why aren't you letting there be light? We have light. Don't forget to subscribe on the way out. See ya. I've been holding